this is this generation's Vietnam. There's no two ways about it.
Just talk us
Good
through,
morning.
at the moment, what's the circumstances of the situation? If you are an Afghan veteran, you've served there, what support do you get when it comes to particularly this issue around PTSD and mental health issues?
Well, there's a wide range of mental health conditions which are very common amongst the wider population and military veterans. The rates are estimated to be anywhere between 4 and 7%, depending on whether you've had a combat role or not. The most important thing, of course, is to recognise that you may well be unwell, because this is not a flick of a switch, you either have or you haven't got it. There are various symptoms, some of which may coincide with traumatic brain injury or the very recently termed moral injury. And in many cases, it's actually family members, friends and colleagues who can actually point out to someone that they're not as they were and that they should seek help. Now, there's a lot of help available. The NHS has recently created Op Courage, which is a combination of services specifically for the armed forces community. And there's a significant charity network, for example, people like Combat Stress and others, who are set up to provide support. But I stress the important thing is to recognise that you have something not right with you and to ask for help.
It's been an incredibly triggering week, though, hasn't it? Seeing what a lot of people have described, certainly veterans that have been involved in Afghanistan, as feeling like what they did there was futile, opening up old wounds as well. We heard Tom Tugendhat in the Commons speaking really movingly, didn't we, on Wednesday, saying, like many veterans, this last week has been one that has seen me struggle through anger and grief and rage. Do you think the government is taking that seriously enough when talking about Afghanistan?
It's one of many things it's got to deal with, to be honest. I mean, you're not talking just about veterans here. You've got government personnel, civil servants, NGOs, charities, people who've gone back out there to work in security, and of course the links that they have in many cases with the Afghan population, who've suffered most of all through all of this. The government's got a huge job on its hands, and I like to think it's doing its best, but time will tell.
Time will tell, and many feel that, of course, the government should be doing a lot more when it comes to helping veterans. And that is something we've heard time and time again, isn't it? The government can and should be doing more. Can I just spell out what that looks like, though? What more can the government actually do? Well,
it's a significant challenge, because if you consider there's around 2.5 million veterans in this country, we're talking everyone from the last few from World War II to National Service, Northern Ireland, Bosnia, all the way through to the present day. In many cases, a lot of these people don't identify as veterans. It's a very emotive term. Most have just gone back into society from where they came, and don't necessarily seek specialist help, or aren't identifiable as veterans. I am content that for those who say, yes, I am a veteran, I need help, there is support, and it's not perfect. In many cases, people self-identify as having a condition such as PTSD, but of course, veterans are subject to the range of mental health problems that typify anybody in the country, because of course, most people spend longer out of uniform than they do in uniform. And of course, the NHS is set up to cater for the needs of the wider population. But there is, I stress, a lot of help, particularly from the charity sector, members of COBSIO, who are there and actively engaging, particularly now in light of the recent news.
It's the nature, though, isn't it, of the combat that took place in Afghanistan. I mean, it's been 8 years since there's been any combat there, but it was the nature of the combat on the ground. It was the IEDs, it was the serious injuries, the loss of limbs that veterans suffered that has made the PTSD element in all of this so severe, compared perhaps to previous warfare engagements that the British military have been involved in. And, of course, you mentioned the loved ones and family members often being the ones that can spot and identify problems with PTSD, but of course it's the loved ones as well of those who lost their lives in Afghanistan, who have been really devastated by this week's developments.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking, it's distressing, it's tragic. Words don't exist to really encompass just how a great many people are feeling. And I've been speaking to a lot of my friends and former colleagues, many of whom were personally affected, some of whom have been contacted by former employees out in Afghanistan. And they it's heart wrenching to see this. Um, it's just too big an issue to fully comprehend. And I think we are just seeing the start of what's going to fall out of this. Now, in terms of the nature of fighting in Afghanistan, yes, it was very difficult because you can't identify an enemy in between times. They're not wearing uniforms, they're planting IEDs. I recall people being physically ill before going out on patrol because of the threats they knew they were facing, and just the sheer courage that takes to overcome it and get on with your job. Of course, that is going to have a significant impact. But the events today, or over the last few days, show that this has not been a clean war. It's not like the Falklands, where we've gone in, sorted out the problem, come home to flag waving crowds. This is this generation's Vietnam. There's no two ways about it. And that has troubled, if you look at the generation of American Vietnam veterans, a great many problems. And this term moral injury, which is basically a feeling of, either I didn't or someone else didn't do right. And that eats away at the soul. And I think that's something we're going to see more prevalent in the future. Now it's been given a name.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.